Scorpio, and welcome to your 2019 tarot reading. Thanks for joining me, and welcome to my channel. We are going to have some fun today, but first let me just say, if this resonates for you, if you would click the subscribe or like button, or feel free to share it. And also, I'd love to hear back from you about your experience in all of this, because I'm going to go through monthly, and then in your monthlies, when we do those throughout the year, I'll bring these up as the cards that we go through today. I'll bring them up as a overall energy, so we'll revisit them as well. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to use the Line Strider deck, and I have pre-shuffled, but I'm going to shuffle again. We've had a pretty amazing 2018 with the Jupiter in your sign. Okay, so let's find out what is in store for Scorpio in the month of January. Oh, a little bit of heartbreak, a little bit of grief. So we ended the year in a way in which, from 2018, where you're still harboring some sort of loss, some sort of grief, some sort of sorrow. And it could be just a quietude. It doesn't feel like it's anything that's overly, dramatic by any means, but it is something that has deeply affected you, and enough for it to carry over into this new year and to linger through the month of January. I also had this card come out, which is interesting. It's the Ten of Cups. So, and I wasn't going to clarify with this deck, but because this one came out, we'll use it as well. So we have a sorrow or a loss that's connected to this happy family. So something in the family structure has changed for you in the month of January that's leaving you a little bit of sorrow or some loss and some grief. We'll find out more. I think that this is definitely clarifying, though. So this is one place to begin, but we'll see where we go from here. Okay. So for Scorpio for February 2019, 10 of Swords. So we're moving from the 3 to the 10. You just got stabbed. So something is going on in the family structure that is creating a lot of havoc for you. That is basically taking you down. This is tough because we're coming off of a year where we just had a lot of excitement, and there was a lot of action towards the end of the year with all the retrogrades of the planets, but with the Jupiter really pushing through in Scorpio, that could be what the letdown is that now, this big benevolent energy has moved through. Now we have a letdown, and there's some changes that are occurring in the familial structure that is creating some kind of havoc on you and in your psyche. These are both air sign cards, so Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. Perhaps that is where your aches are coming from, but these are generally like just our mental issues. So we've got some mental constructs that are being broken and just thrashed, basically. So you're coming into a new you. It's just we have to go through the pain of going through the new you. This doesn't sound good so far, so let's keep moving through. Okay, for March. The Two of Wands, and we've got it reversed, and so what I do is I flip them. So we'll read it as it's upright, but we can talk about it when it's reversed as well. And it's basically because we color the cards. We decide if it's positive or negative. The cards just, are there. And so it's up to us to decide how to apply it and how to transcend it. So the Two of Wands is a building. So we're moving past this energy, which is wonderful, and we're moving into a building of something that's action related. This is a fire card. So we've got either a new creative project, a new work project, something that's benefiting you to take action. So I love that we've moved through this this mental anguish into action. Sometimes you just have to do in order to get through. Oh, that's something. So yes, so building, and then it's a two. So if this was a family situation, perhaps there was a break and it's coming back together, and there's a partnership that's being built upon again. So it could have just been a sidestep, momentary sidestep, but we'll find out some more. So let's move on to April. April for Scorpio 2019. Okay, Temperance. So we want to make sure that we are going, we're staying the course evenly, like we're not throwing ourselves too far into, one side or the other. So, we've gone to an extreme here with the Ten of Swords, and now we're starting to build something in action, which is, a flip-flop. So we want to make sure as we move into April that we're balanced, that we're not overplaying one side or the other, overcorrecting is what I should say. I did forget to mention, because of this Two of Wands being upright, is that, reversed, is that we could be coming out of this, changing this, partnership, this construct that's being built, turning it back on its, from being upside down, right side up, taking it out of the emotional sorrow, the struggle here, and flipping it so that we can move forward with it. And in doing so, we get to this place where we have a new balance, a new regulation, something that's keeping us even. So evenness, not overcorrecting, is our theme for April. So let's see what's in store for May. The Page of Swords. Now, the Page is learning to be a knight, which is learning to be a queen and a king. So the Page is understanding. It's the very beginning of understanding its suit. This is specifically a messenger because the swords are your air signs and they have that communication. So there is a message coming through in May. However, it's a clear message, but it can be one that could be abrupt. It could cut through in a way that might have been a little bit kinder. Because it's the Page trying to figure out how to do things. So we are still kind of learning the best way to approach situations. So the Page might just throw that truth in there, bring that message straight through, and it may not be received with open arms just because of the way that it's presented. But just keep in mind that as it comes through, try to keep an open mind with it. Just know that this person is doing the best that they can in the way that they know, and they are learning, okay? So now let's see what's in store for June for Scorpio 2019. We're back into the swords, so let's see. Are we overcorrecting again? Oh, the Star. Oh, I love this. Okay. So we're moving forward. We're moving out of this struggling energy of the swords, which is great. The Star is your wish. It's your destiny. The Star is your guidance. It's your guidance system. So it's a way in which you're being given an opportunity to go within your own intuition, to be guided by your deep knowing, and to be supported by the universe and supported by your community in moving forward with what you truly believe is your purpose. So we're uncovering that towards the middle of the year. We're uncovering your purpose, and you're making space for yourself to move forward in the world in purpose. Now, if you feel like you're already on purpose, which is amazing, this is going to give you even more of a push forward. So something even more interesting, more benefic is going to open up for you, because the Star is really going to give you a little bit more magical push. Okay, so that's going to be your June. Let's see what's in store for July. Scorpio 2019, July. Ace of Swords. Well, we just love these swords right now. So we're going to cut through. There's going to be some truth that comes cutting through. So in expanding in June, which is great, there's going to be a truth that is laid out in July. And that truth is going to set you on a new path because it's an ace. We're beginning again, okay? You are really working out these swords this year. And I think there's power in that. Perhaps in the past, you have been so much into the feeling of the emotion versus the clarity of the communication. And I think that, putting yourself in these situations of having to speak your truth, of knowing the truth, of allowing communication to be a guided post versus the deep, treacherous emotions that can get you wrapped up, as a Scorpio. I think that this is a really interesting exercise this year in 2019 of really working towards speaking the truth, being a part of that clear communication, regardless of if it's a positive or negative, because that's not really the issue. That's how you take on. But really stepping into the power of communication this year is something that it seems to be a good theme for you. So let's stretch our vocabulary and let's speak our truth daily. Okay. So moving on to August. Okay. So Six of Cups also came up reversed, but we'll flip it. This can be emotions coming back, a nostalgic feeling, looking back on the good old days with sweet memories. It's childhood, it's laughter, these are beautiful places to be. There's something really lovely happening for you in August. And it could be with another. This card has a 2, even though there's a 6 involved. There's 2 players, usually they're children that are in this card in the traditional decks. I like the lemurs, they're very sweet. So in July, you're going to have this sweetness that comes back. And it could be reflecting through the year, reflecting through many years, or it could be that you actually have someone coming back into your life. We'll see more when we clarify it, if it has to do with another person or yourself. But ultimately, the way in which I think tarot is that it guides us to use the world, to use the cards as mirrors for ourselves. It's great when it reflects other people, but those other people also reflect ourselves. Okay, so we're looking for September. 3 of Wands. I love that we eventually get there. So we've done a lot of work, Scorpio, all the way up to September here. You've worked through a lot of pain. You've worked through some truth. You've gotten some guidance and some wishes fulfilled. There's some sweetness in August, and now because you've worked through making stronger foundations, now you're waiting for that future to come forward, to come to fruition. So you've built it, you're laying a strong foundation with clear communication. So September is going to bring in, it's going to be you waiting for the truth to come in, the actions, the gifts of your actions to be coming in. They say that's the waiting for your ships to come in, looking over the horizon and watching the world and reflecting upon it. So there's something, again, reflective happening in September, but it's also an action card. So you have taken some action to get to this place where you're on top of the mountain reflecting upon it all. Okay, so that's September. Now we're to October. October for Scorpio, it's your birthday time. 5 of Swords. You're going to go through all these swords, aren't you, in 2019? So it's an impasse, right? It's a struggle, but you have laid down the swords. There's no more struggle. It has been a struggle. We're kind of it is a little bit of a defeat, but it's also a truce, right? So what I'm feeling is that because of the way that this year has worked out, is that you go a little further, you get knocked back. You go a little farther, and something comes up. So, it's a little bit of a zigzag. This Five of Swords is conceding to the process. It doesn't feel like it's something in particular that's out to get you, but it's something that you are conceding to the process. You're taking a truce, right? You're saying, all right, I see what's happening here. I go to a certain point. I've laid some good foundations down, and then I get knocked back a bit. So I'm just going to concede to the process. This is the best in terms of allowing and being in flow. And while this looks like a defeatist card, I think that it's a great choice to make, especially because sometimes to decide to release it all is the best decision. To remove yourself from the game for a moment and just allow the whole thing to unfold can be powerful. Okay, so moving on to November for Scorpio. November for Scorpio. Here we go. There's our new beginning in November. So just right around birthday season, you're going to get to start over here. Okay? So it's up. We have to go through these zigzags, and there's nothing, no gloom and doom, nothing huge. And we'll see what the clarifiers say, but we go back and forth, and once we concede to the process, once we give in and surrender, then we can have our new beginning in November, which is beautiful. And let's see how our year is going to end. December for Scorpio, 2019. I feel like it's just in here. Okay, Four of Wands. Now it came up reversed, but again, we'll flip it. Because how do we flip things? We just look at it both ways. So when the Four of Wands is reversed, it just means that the third foundation isn't strong. But look at you. You've got 12 months to get to making a stronger foundation. So once you begin anew here, once you give up and surrender everything, you can then start to build this firm foundation of action, right? So we started building, and we're still building, but you're doing this in the right way, Scorpio. Like there's nothing that is a huge backtrack here. This is really just you're up in your head about it, right? You're processing these things. That's what the sword's really doing. It's, there's no Tower card. There's nothing that's really throwing your world upside down except for how you're feeling and processing through things. So once you get through processing it, there's your new beginning, and there's your firm foundation to start off 2020 in a most amazing way. Okay, so let's go to Lenormand and get the clarifiers. And I'm really interested to see how this works its way out over the course of the year. So I'm going to pull these up every month, and we'll see what happens. So for January, Three of Swords and this Ten of Cups. So far we're looking at it like it's a family situation. Let's see. It's two cards. Okay, so there's a male figure here. Now, the way that I read this, the way that I'm using in this spread is we're talking about the masculine energy. Not necessarily a male person, but we can say so. So, there is a masculine energy or a male that is that this grief is connected to. Now, I don't want to say that he's causing it, but I believe that we choose to feel this way. So because of this energy, because of this person, we have this feeling. We have the feeling of grief and loss. In that connection, we felt the Ten of Cups at one point in time. And in January, we're feeling the grief and loss connected to that male figure. So we'll see, but this sounds like it could be a breakup. It sounds like it could also be the leaving of this energy. So this energy, whatever this masculine energy could be. So it's it's formidable, it's supportive, it's nurturing, but in a very stable, secure way. And I love that both men and male and females have nurturing energies. And so it's that energy that is at loss. That's the yumminess, the deliciousness of that connection. That's where the loss is. So we'll see. We'll kind of dive into this sooner than later anyway, because that's January. Okay. So moving on to February. Where's this Ten of Swords? Let's identify that. Okay. So we've got the Snake card. Now I look at the snake in many different ways. So it could be a card of deceit. It could be a person who has been deceitful, or who has kind of created more of a mess, created more of a situation than was, more of a dramatic situation that was necessary. It's also connected to a dark-haired woman. So it could be that there's a situation where there was a male figure, and then that person went with this female, and that could be why that the feeling of the Ten of Swords is there. This could also be a friend who is no longer supportive, and this breakup, this disconnect is creating this havoc here, this feeling. And actually, let me go back. None of this is creating this feeling. We have this feeling because of this situation. So there is some type of snake in the grass that's happening in February. We'll get to the bottom of that once we get to February, okay? But good news is that we're moving past that energy. Now let's move on to March. Two of Wands. So what is this Two of Wands about? The lilies. Okay. Oh, I didn't show you. So the lilies, really interesting card. It is about antiquity. It's about sensuality. And it's about elders, right? So in March, what we're talking about is, we discussed this about making a plan to move forward, setting a foundation, and going forward, jumping, basically, because we've got a rabbit, which is also interesting. But in doing so, it could be as a result of this feeling of that sensuality has been disregarded in the past. Like, I'm feeling like it's again connected to these things, that we're wanting to move forward because we want to feel that we want to feel sensual. We want to feel our connection to this this legacy of creation, but then also of I'm touching my hands because it's it's the presence of feeling feeling flesh, right? It's visceralness, right? So it's so Scorpio, you do things to such a degree, and I love this about you, is that you go to an extreme to really understand the depth of the experience. So in order to understand the depth of sensuality, you would have to go to the extreme of feeling exactly what the softness of flesh would be. So this is really, this could be like a tantric study. You could be studying Tantra here. You could be studying even breath work, something that brings you to a place where you are really connected to your body and really viscerally heightened by it. So we're jumping away, moving away from this pain, these 2 months of pain, forward into a place that could be quite an amazing experience. And then, of course, in April, we're being told to, hold your horses, don't go too crazy. So let's see, in April, now why would we have to hold, why would we have to dial it back from sensuality? There's nothing wrong with that. We love that. Okay. So we've got the key. Here, I'll show you that. So the key is, the answer. Now the troubles, we haven't really gotten to because we're not doing full spreads at this point, but to understand, what's really going on here, the emotional depths of this struggle, going to a place of heightened sensuality, and then being told that the answer is in the balance of the two. So the answer we will discover in April is the balance between the feeling of the feelings, the experience of the sorrow, and also the experience of the heightened sensuality, the bliss, right? So the balance of the two, that's your key. We'll be learning that in April. Now in May we're going to get a message. What's that message going to be about? Well, it's not telling me now. We've got the clouds. The clouds are about confusion. So there will be some confusion. Let's just say that there will be some confusion that this message will bring in, that will clear it out, because we're a sword and we just cut through that confusion. Okay? We'll learn more about what that is once we get there. But if we're not meant to know about it now, we're not. And I'm not going to push it. No more clarifiers on that. Okay, so the lady card wants to come up with the star. In June, we're coming up, let me show. In June, we're coming up with this passion, this wish, this destiny card, and it is guiding you towards really expressing yourself in your full feminine nature, okay? Regardless of what gender, or non-gendered you want. What is feminine is receiving, allowing, flowing. It's also nurturing for the long term, right? It's not like a quick action-based nurturing. It's a let's first plant the seeds, and then we have to water daily, and we visit the seeds, and we put our energy towards our soil. So there's a lot of really involved long-term nurturing that's happening here. And so for you in June, your destiny is really connected to the love of self and the love of your feminine receptive self. Yeah, that'll be a lovely month too. Okay, July is clear communication. It's going to break through something. So let's see what's in July. Okay, it's going to anchor us down. So the anchor, what it is stability. So we're going to know clearly what we can count on in July. Something's going to come through. Either it's going to be us, and our stability is going to be presented. We're going to learn how to be more fixed for ourselves, stable for ourselves, or there will be something that's clearly shown to us that demonstrates here's what is long term. Here's what you can depend on. This is where you want to plant roots, even though the anchor isn't necessarily rooted, but that is it's a long-term stable force that keeps us from floating, right? In Scorpio, you have you're a water sign, so you need something to keep you from floating away. I like that both of these things are actually cutting through and saying, look, this is where the stability is. Okay, August, your sweet remembrances of August. What's this about? Just one card. That's two. Just one, please, for Scorpio. So we've got the mice. The mice are in August. So we have some sweet remembrances, but they give us a little bit of anxiety. There's a little bit of worry about it. So, of course, because there's so much of you being up in your head this whole year. So there'll be a little bit of worry about this. And if it is a new love, or if it's a love coming back, or if it's someone coming back into your life, there'll be just a little bit of worry, a little bit of anxiety. This can eat you up, though. And so what I would encourage you to do is to continue to be clear in your wording. Look forward, and taking care of you, right? Don't let this anxiety eat you up like what happened earlier in the year, okay? So it may come back, but this time it's in a different suit, so that means that you have the power over it this time, okay? All right, let's move on to September. What's in for September for Scorpio? The birds. The birds. Beautiful. I love them. So conversations. There's also two, so it could be a collaboration. So remember, we're talking about building something new here, and there's communication and collaboration coming in September along those lines. Okay. It could be this person here, and perhaps this is the collaboration that's unfolding. So we'll see how that goes too. Wow, this year is going to be so interesting as it keeps going. Okay. October, Five of Swords. What it got us to this place of giving in and surrendering. Authority, structure, and it could even be the government. Like this could be taxes. This could be education of some sort. If you work for a corporation, so that's what this is all about. It's about the larger structure, and it's formidable and it's stronger than it's these are structures that humans create, but they are ultimately the rules that we create can bring us down. So that's what's happening in October, is that there's some kind of rule or regulation or structure that is weighting you down, and you just kind of throw your swords down and surrender to it. Okay, just let it go. It's so good not to fight those things. There's no reason to. There really is no reason to. Okay, so we're going to go to November. What's our new beginning? Oh, beautiful. The sun. That's what you deserve. I'm sorry that you have to wait until birthday time to get there, but the sunlight is coming through to shine the way for your new beginning. We're going to clarify that more when we get to November. How exciting will that be? But no, do not even worry. No worries, Scorpio. It's going to be amazing, okay? Once you surrender, the new stuff coming in is going to shine. Okay, so December. Last card to clarify our December. Prosperity, abundance. Okay, that just makes perfect sense. So, we've gone through the struggles. We've gone through the ups and downs. You've surrendered to it, and now you're being granted all of the things. It's going to be hard work, but there's going to be rewards by the end of the year. Okay. So I want to do one more card, which is from the Mystical Shaman deck. These are beautiful cards. This will be like an overall theme, and I'll bring this back monthly as well, so that we can keep that in mind. So for Scorpio 2019, what's our overall energy? What is overall message that Scorpio can learn for 2019? Oh, we get two. Okay. As you wish. Completion. And taming the wind. Okay. So I have to read these because there's just so much. Now, the completion, the number is 9, which is, completing a cycle. Years, we have personal years 1 through 9. So 9 is a completion. All right. Here we go. All things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is the nature of life, the seed, the flower, and the fruit, and of all human relationships. Completion suggests the fullness of the moment and the need to transform an old form into a new one. Now, could that be what's happening here? Are we actually transforming this into something that returns later? That's possible. That's possible. So let's look at this. You have finished a cycle, and there is no more growth or benefit from hanging on to the old. In regards to relationships, it's time to honor what has been and find a new form for the future. In your ventures, it is time to reap your harvest. Completion is a time for celebration. It is the end of summer when the fruit is ripe. Okay, so we're completing something. And we're taming the wind at the same time. So 55, which breaks down to a 1, makes perfect sense. We have completed a cycle only to begin a new one. Okay, let me hold this a little better. Taming the wind. Here, the feather, a symbol that is used in clearing ceremonies for smudging, reminds you of the sacred commitment you make to your life. This is a symbol of consciously bringing the spiritual into the material, infusing the world with reverence and an acknowledgement of the higher planes of existence. It's time to clear your energy, be present, and become conscious of how you communicate. This is a good time to write in a journal, put your thoughts into cohesive form. Perhaps you need to actually do a smudging ceremony in your house or office, creating a sacred space to write about your dreams and desires. Just remember that when taming the wind appears as a symbol, it's time to honor the Great Spirit with reverence and respect. I think what's beautiful about that is that it's talking about recording your dreams. And we have so many swords here, right? So many swords, which is all about communication. So I think taking that, to heart and journaling. If you don't journal now, it's really easy. Just get a book and then make some time, 5-10 minutes each day. I like to also try to get a dream journal in a day. So if I wake up, the first thing I like to do is write in my journal, and it will be, whatever comes up from my dream if I remember it, or exactly how I'm feeling when I do wake up. But there's a lot of power in recording what's going on, recording what you're feeling. And if you are interested in smudge sticks, using that clears so much. It's really powerful to use sage and to clear out that energy, and clear yourself with sage as well. Okay, so Scorpio, that is your 2019 reading. We are going to go into the depths of this throughout the year, so I am here with you along the ride. In the meantime, if you want a personal reading, feel free to contact me with the links below. Have a great one, and I'm sending you all my love.